Premack Principle is the eat your peas, then you can have dessert method of training a behavior, which states you can use a likely behavior to reinforce an unlikely behavior, allowing you to turn distractions into possible rewards for good behavior. Some examples of using Premack Principle could be rewarding a loose leash walk with the ability to sniff freely, or asking your dog to sit politely before being allowed to greet other people or dogs, or rewarding a recall with the opportunity to chase a squirrel or run around like a madman. Next few clips will show you some ways that I use Premack Principle to reinforce recall with my own dogs. So like with any other behavior, it's important to start in a low distraction environment. For my dogs, an open field like this is a low distraction environment, but for other dogs, this might be too distracting. So if that sounds like your dog, it would be a great idea to throw a long line on them so that they don't have the ability to blow their recall. So my dogs have a pretty good recall, but I do like to periodically call them back even when there aren't distractions around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for my dogs to get kind of distracted, to get a little bit ahead of me, like right here.
Here. Yeah, good boy. Break.
So after my dog comes to me, I'm going to tell him yes, let him know he did a good job, and then I'm going to tell him break, which is his cue to move freely, go back to doing whatever it is he wants to do. And same thing with Scarlett here. Her recall isn't as necessary, honestly, as Finley's, because she doesn't really want to be that far away from me anyway. Finley, on the other hand, does find it really valuable to go run over and say hi to other people and other dogs, so for him, his recall is a lot more important.
Yeah.
Another thing I'll do, especially in the beginning of utilizing environmental rewards or Premack Principle with recall, is I will still use food. So they don't typically need it, but I wanted to add this clip in to show you how you can combine food and environmental rewards, especially to really strengthen that recall. So they come back, I toss a bit of food, and then I let them go be free again. So in this clip, we have a person over in the top left playing fetch with their dog, and then there's another person behind the bush behind me playing fetch with their dog as well, but you can see. So what I wanted to do here was have my dogs walk with me, instead of, especially with Finley, I need to be on him a little bit more about not bolting and going and running and saying hi. So I'm asking them both to with me, which just means walk with me. It's not a formal heel or anything, it's just me asking them to stick with me instead of running away and saying hi. So I'm not necessarily going to be telling Finley to break, because if I tell him break, he thinks that means he can go run and say hi. So I'm not going to take that risk, I'm just going to keep telling him with me. Scarlett, I don't have to worry about as much because her inclination is to stick with me and not go run off and say hi anyway. So I'm asking Finley to walk a lot closer with me. So you can see he's walking a lot closer to me and he's paying more attention to me than he was in the beginning of the video. But that's exactly what I wanted from him. And then I told him to break because the person walked away. So in this clip, we're a lot closer to more people and dogs who are all off-leash running around in this big field. This was at an off-leash area, so the dogs are allowed to be off-leash. So Scarlett, again, I don't really have to worry about. I do periodically encourage her with my voice that she's doing really good, allowing all these strangers to be close to her, because she can be a little skittish. So as you can see, we are walking past a person and her dog right there, and what I want Finley to do is come to me instead of running right up to this person saying hi. So I called him, and he came over quite nicely, and he's paying attention to me. So then I'm going to tell him, go say hi. And that is his reward for coming to me, ignoring the first person and her dog. So his reward for coming to me and ignoring them is, now you can go say hello to these other people and their dogs. And then I called him again, and Scarlett's being a little cheeky monkey, distracting him. But he did come back again. So then again, his reward is be free, go say hello if you want, run around, sniff, do whatever you want. And he's paying attention very nicely there. As you can see, trotting right past these dogs. So I'm going to reward that by letting him go say hi to the dogs now. And he loves big, jowly dogs like Newfies and Bernese Mountain Dogs. I don't know why, but he loves them. And then he came back immediately when I asked him in the middle of saying hi to another dog. So I am going to give him a piece of food as a bonus reward for that one. Technically, Premack Principle isn't necessarily about using food, it's more about using environmental rewards and engaging in other behaviors to reinforce behaviors they're not likely to do. But because Finley does have a propensity to sometimes ignore me or not come back straight away while he's saying hello, I want to doubly reinforce that because I want it to be a behavior that he does all the time. So again, a little recall there, and I wait for them to be distracted, to not be paying attention to me before I recall them, because that's when recall matters, right? If they're already paying attention to you, it doesn't matter as much as when they're distracted.
Can you wait? Can you wait? Yeah, good boy. Go say hi.
So that was nice. You could clearly see the change in behavior from him paying attention to me to the freedom to go say hello, which it was cold that day. He decided he was done with his walk. He didn't want to say hi. That's totally fine. His prerogative. So a couple of important takeaways from this very short video on using Premack Principle with recall. Number one, start in a low distraction environment. Set your dog up for success. If you don't know if they're going to come back when you call them, keep them on a long line. Number two, figure out the behaviors that your dog likes and figure out a way to use them to your advantage so you can use them to reward behaviors that you like. So for example, with Finley, he comes back to me, his reward is, okay, now you can go say hi to those dogs. Number three, don't always call your dog back when they're already paying attention to you. Recall matters most when your dog isn't paying attention or when they're distracted. So wait for your dog to be into a smell or looking off in a different direction or even looking at a distraction before you call them back to you. So that way they learn to come back even when they're not already paying attention to you. And number four, the most important thing I can stress about this, go slowly. I reinforced my dog's recall with food and with play and with attention from me for a very, very, very long time before I started using environmental rewards, because my dogs place a very high value on food, especially they're very food motivated. So I use that to my advantage to teach them the absolute basics of recall first before I started using Premack Principle to reinforce a recall. But Premack Principle is very useful for long-term success with recall. You might not always have food on you or a toy on you to reward your dog. It's always a good idea, I think, to throw a few treats in your pocket just in case. But you might not always have that, so it's good to have something else that you can use to reinforce good behaviors with your dog.